this NFL Week 4 Thursday Night Football edition of the Propcast on the NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Game Time. Snag the tickets without stress. Use promo code CFBX on your first purchase. Save $20. Download the Game Time app and use promo code CFBX. Roster brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play the Underdog Pick'em in college or NFL and win up to 20 times your money in one game. Plus, every Sunday, they're giving away $100,000. Use promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for a 100% deposit bonus of up to $500. Roster brought to you by VSiN. Sign up now and save 40% off with their football season special when you use promo code SGP. Visit vsin.com/subscribe using promo code SGP. And finally, we're brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month. Start making smarter bets today. Welcome, everyone, to the Propcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Wednesday, September the 27th, currently 2:03 on the East Coast. Here to get into our NFL Week 4 Thursday Night Football player props. It is going to be a battle of the NFC North, the Detroit Lions. They are headed to Wisconsin, to Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers. And we'll do it as we usually do here. We'll give our player props, some touchdown props. And as always, we'll give out our best bets for the Thursday Night Football game for our player props. And joining me here to help me break it all down, you guys know him as the motorsports king himself, the hardest working man in the sports betting industry. It's Rod Villagomez. Rod, how's it going, my friend?
It is going wonderful. I am excited and ready for this surprisingly interesting NFC North showdown. Both these guys 2-1. I think I have to go back and listen to what we talked about as far as the Packers were concerned, but I'm not sure I expected them to jump out to a 2-1 start. So pretty excited to see how this one turns out. Of course, the Lions, they're bringing their brand of excitement. So this should actually be a decent Thursday Night Football matchup.
Yeah, I mean, the line is also indicative of that. I currently see it's like 1.5 in favor of the Detroit Lions. So expecting this one to come down to the wire between these two teams. I believe the winner should be will be in first place because the Vikings are winless and so are the Bears. So huge game for both of these teams as far as division implications go early on in the season here. But also joining us, you guys got the hardest working man as well in the sports betting industry, absolutely crushing it in the WNBA playoffs and also the WNBA. And right around the corner, the NBA season. Myself and Chris, we're going to be rocking for the Propcast for the NBA season as well. He's already rubbing his hands. I'm excited too, my man. Chris, how's it going this Wednesday afternoon, my friend? How you doing?
What's going on? What's up, Rod? Excited to be here. Like Rod said, I think that overall the matchup for tomorrow is a pretty good matchup. Divisional games are always pretty good anyway, especially when you get them on in primetime spots. So we got a Thursday game. It would be a little more compelling. I'd be a little more excited about, giving out a few plays if we could get a clean injury report. I feel like that's been affecting it's been affecting our records here when we try to do the show and we're just kind of guessing at who's going to play. And those one player or those few players typically tend to have a huge impact, especially when they're starters in their skill position players. So nevertheless, still here to break it down and, give out the insight, hopefully give out some winners. I think collectively we did really good last week. So hopefully we can get into it and do it all over again,
Yeah, last week before we wrapped up our weekend show, I told you guys our teams were combined 5-1, or so 5-3. And lo and behold, my Texans, they got it done. They got on the winning side. So we all of our teams at least have a win on the regular season. I'm expecting my team to be at the bottom, but hey, when it comes to playing in Jacksonville, this team does definitely get it done. So they got a 20-point victory there down in Jacksonville after being depending on the number that if you did bet this game, 8.5 to around, I think it closed around 7.5, I want to say. But just wanted to mention that because I was getting laughed at. But hey, the Texans got it done. Yeah, like you guys mentioned, this should be a fun matchup. It's close on the line as well. Like I mentioned, it's around -1, -1.5 in favor of the Lions here. But I think we did have a pretty good weekend as well as our player props win. I think, again, Tank Dell, I'm going to have to buy his jersey because he cashed another touchdown prop for me last Sunday with against the Jaguars at plus 390. But Rod, how did Sunday turn out for you, my friend?
I mean, look, Sunday was Sunday. Honestly, I was not very thrilled about my picks for that one. And I think Thursday night I did much better because, of course, I'm very much familiar with the 49ers. So it was a little easier for me to get that done. But as far as week 3, Mac Jones over 31.5 passing attempts. I think he threw 31. So that was a little bit. Bijan Robin didn't even get going. Like I had him over 14.5 carries, didn't get him going. Chase Young did get the sack. That was money. And then Romeo Doubs did score the touchdown. So those were the two positives, but the other two were just like, meh.
I mean, look, you got hooked on the Mac Jones one. I think a lot of people were on that over on his passing attempts, but yeah, it's just unfortunate when you lose. I'm okay if I lose a touchdown prop by like a 3 to 5 like stat line, but when you get hooked, man, it goes from making your day being in the black or being in the red real quick. So it's unfortunate, but we'll turn it around starting this week 4 on Thursday Night Football. Chris, how did Sunday turn out for you, my friend?
Man, I'm gonna just whisper it, if I don't want to say it too loud, but it was good. It was it was a real good day. I know we talked about even after I got off, we talked about a couple extra props. So I want to say 5 and 2 was the props that I gave out. And CJ Stroud didn't even go over his pass attempts at 33.5 because Jacksonville couldn't score the ball, so they were just running, and that was really weird. But so that was one of the ones that I didn't hit. Zay Flowers finished half a yard short. I had him at 49.5, and he finished with 48. So that was a tough one too. But a lot of winners. Hopefully, we can repeat that and do it all over again.
Yeah, I know. Towards the end of the show, we were talking about Deshaun Watson. That it was, that this week he had to step up for this Cleveland Browns offense, especially after the starts that he had in the first 2 weeks against the Bengals and the Steelers. And I'm not going to take a lot away from week 1 because we talked about how the weather was really influencing that game in Cleveland in week 1. But we talked about it that the Titans secondary and their pass defense is just not very good. And if this week, so going back to last week, we said that if Deshaun Watson wasn't able to take advantage of that Cleveland Browns may be in a little bit of trouble here, but he rose to the occasion. He had a really good day, his best start of the season as far as the first 3 weeks go. So I think something that we have to consider is taking a look at quarterbacks and their success against this Titans secondary until they are able to figure it out. I went back and looked. The 3 quarterbacks that the Titans have faced, each of those 3 quarterbacks have thrown a long completion of at least 40 yards. So I'll expand more of this when we do the weekend props there as far as long as completion. But I think that's something worth noting for what we at least talked about on the last pod for the week 3 Sunday games. But gentlemen, before we dive into the Thursday Night Football player props here, let me tell everyone about Game Time. Look, baseball season, this is the last week of the regular season, and then playoffs are going to be ramping up. We're in the midst of NFL season as well as college football. And you want to get out to the ballpark, you want to get out to the stadium, and you want to get out to the field, and you want to support your local team. Take the stress away from having to buy tickets and get excited for the fun that you're going to have. So let Game Time take care of all the stress that comes with buying tickets. They make it so easy. It's fast and easy to buy tickets for all sports, but not only sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets at their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you're going to have. They have some great flash deals and last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. And the best part I love about their app is that you get an image of your seat before you purchase the tickets for that specific event. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. They get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, and theater, and much more. The Game Time guarantee means you're going to get the best price. And if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. That's how confident they are in their prices. So get images of their seat before you buy them, like I mentioned, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're all set. The tickets are sent directly to your phone in the Game Time app. You never have to haggle through going through your email or also your mailbox. No, they're right there in that Game Time app. So snag the tickets without stress with Game Time. All you got to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CFBX for $20 off. Download Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And Ross, we're brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy has a way to play alongside your favorite football team all season long. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5-4-5. From now until October 4th, Underdog is matching 100% of your first deposits of up to $500. That's right, $500. They also are giving away $100,000 on Sundays with their new promo that they're running. So a total of $2 million in prizes all season long, $100K in prizes this week, and $10,000 to 10 people this week. New sweepstake every week for the NFL season. So watch along, make your picks, and maybe make a little cash over on Underdog's mobile app or their website at underdogfantasy.com. And when you sign up with promo code SGPN, Underdog will double your first deposit up to $500. Again, that's Underdog Fantasy using promo code SGPN. All right, gentlemen, let's get into our player props here for the Thursday Night Football game between the Lions and the Packers. Chris, why don't you lead us off, my friend?
Let's do it. So let's start with the quarterback. I'm looking at Mr. Love, Mr. Jordan Love. Let's preface all of our player props. I'll just go ahead and put this out for everyone that's listening. You know, this will be something for yourself and Rod as well. So going through the injury report, like we kind of talked about, right? Like a lot of things kind of depend on what we're looking at. Lions are optimistic. Dan Campbell did come out and said they're optimistic that David Montgomery is going to play. So we don't have any rush props right now other than Jordan Love. Also Christian Watson with that hamstring said that he'll play, even though the coach said that it wasn't 100% confirmed quite yet. They're going to kind of test him out. So Love might have that shiny new toy that'll kind of go in with this prop. And then Aaron Jones as well. Hamstring, questionable, not 100% sure. Cautiously optimistic is what the quote said. So just kind of wanted to put that out first and foremost. But for Jordan Love specifically, I like his pass attempts to go over. 32.5 is the number. It was minus 110 earlier when I looked at it on Bet365. I think you still can get the minus 110 over at DraftKings, I want to say. So it's just what the Lions defense do. They force you into passing the ball. They have a really good rush defense. In 3 games, teams have actually passed the ball 118 times against the Lions. That's 39 times per game. And they've rushed just 68 times. Mahomes in week 1, 39 times. Geno Smith in week 2, even though that game went to overtime, 41 times. And then Desmond Ridder, of all people, we missed this one last week, Munaf and Rod. I can't believe we did. Career high, season high, 38 times for Mr. Ridder last week. And, in his first game of the season at home, versus a top 10 rush defense, he's actually faced 2 so far, that being the New Orleans Saints. He actually had 44 pass attempts in that game as well. You look at the Lions, their opponents are actually passing the ball nearly 65% of their plays, which is the third most. 40 times their opponents are actually passing 40 times per game, which ranks 6th. So all of those numbers just tell me that game script probably as well. I do kind of expect that. Like I said, the injury report, not 100% sure. Just 22% also of the rush attempts against the Detroit Lions have actually gained 5 or more yards. So without Aaron Jones being there, if he's not able to play, that's going to make it a whole lot harder for them to be able to move the ball on the ground. Detroit's allowing the 5th fewest rush yards. I kind of talked about that at 72 per game, just 3.2 yards per carry, which is the 5th fewest in both of those categories. So give me Jordan Love to actually go ahead and have to sling that thing down the field and pick up some completions for his team to score some points, Munaf and Rod.
Yeah, I mean, look, we talk about this Lions secondary, and I think we talked about it when we were doing the division previews for our player props, that we expected another season where this secondary was not going to be very good. I know, unfortunately, for the Falcons last week, they weren't able to take advantage of that, just because I think Desmond Ridder was a quarterback. But like you mentioned, he got over his pass attempts, because when you face his Lions team, that, their front 7 is going to be pretty good, but their weakness has been in the secondary. So I think that if Matt LaFleur is able to recognize that, which I think he will, because he's a really good head coach, I do expect Jordan Love to throw to sling the ball around. And even if Christian Watson plays 25-50% of the snaps. I think that's going to still open up opportunities for the other guys that they have on this roster, whether it's guys like Romeo Dobbs, like we've talked about, Luke Musgrave. Even if Aaron Jones does play, I think he's a great pass catching running back as well, along with AJ Dillon out there as well. So I think they have enough weapons for him to sling this ball around against this line secondary. Rod, thoughts on Jordan Love here?
Yeah, and this is even especially good if Aaron Jones does miss this game, because really AJ Dillon's only averaging 2.7 yards per carry, and there's no way they're going to want to keep handing the ball off to a guy that's not going to get even 3 yards per carry. So I definitely agree with you on this one. It's tough for anybody to run the ball against the Lions, let alone with a guy that is barely getting any yards when you do give him the ball. So yeah, I think Love's going to have to throw this quite a bit.
Breaking news. Chris, NBA, Damian Lillard
headed to the
Milwaukee Bucks. Wow. Oh, my goodness. What is going on? Oh, my God. All right. Sorry for that. Rod, take us over to player prop number 1.
Well, I'll stick with Jordan Love, but I will take his interceptions. It's obviously at 0.5, right? So just a half an interception. Either he throws one or he doesn't. I don't think he's going to throw one this week, and that's at plus 110 over on DraftKings. Look, Jordan Love has not thrown but one interception all season long, and he threw that one last week. So that was a tough one for him, but he threw it against the Saints, who a little bit better of a defense, I think, in my opinion, and played them a lot closer, obviously, than the Lions. But the Lions picked off Patrick Mahomes, haven't done anything since. So that secondary, while they are getting thrown on quite a bit, they're not intercepting the ball. And Jordan Love, as we know, with quarterbacks that are mobile, don't tend to try to take too many risks down the field. They'll tuck it and run if that's how that happens. And he's done that a few times, actually, has Jordan Love, because he did have 9 attempts last week for 39 yards, a couple of attempts to try to get out of it for 23 the week before, and then 3 for 12 the first week against the Bears. So Jordan Love actually is taking care of the ball this season, which is something that I don't know if you expected him to or not, because he's not necessarily a young quarterback, but obviously he's getting his first go at it for real this season. And so far, it seems like he's really wanting to not make mistakes. And so I think that's going to play into his hands. And like I said, the Lions haven't been able to, as much as they've been thrown on that Chris has laid out, they're not really making a lot of plays on the ball. So, I'm saying that it's not even going to be an issue this week either. I don't think Jordan Love's going to throw an interception. So at plus 110, I like the Love under 0.5 interceptions this week.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Jordan Love. I think that he's been very smart with the football. And I think it goes back to coaching as well, right? Like, I don't think that Matt LaFleur gets a lot of credit for what he's been able to do. I mean, I know he had Aaron Rodgers for, the 2-3 seasons when he did get hired as a Packers head coach, and they were in double-digit wins for all those seasons. But I think a lot of the credit, at least early on this season, the success that the Packers are having. And I think that, we talk about this with Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan, is that he's putting them in the right situations. I think Matt LaFleur is doing the exact same thing with Jordan Love. So again, we talked about this. I'm not a fan of this defense for of the Detroit Lions in the secondary. So I'm with you. I think that, again, Jordan Love, I think he's gonna have a good game in this game. So I'm with you. I don't think that at plus odds, I'm right there with you. Chris, thoughts on Jordan Love not to throw interception here?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brian laid it out well. I like what you mentioned as well. I just think that in this matchup specifically, because we don't know, he could have Aaron Jones back there as well. Like, that would take a huge load off of what they're expecting them to do also. So a lot of kind of question marks right now, but I wouldn't play him to throw an interception. So I would agree with Rod in this spot.
All right, before we get over to my first player prop for this Thursday night football game, let me tell everyone about VSiN. We're brought to you by VSiN. Sign up now and save 40% off 40% off football season special when you use promo code SGP. Visit VSiN.com/subscribe and use promo code SGP. Sean and Ryan are in a contest going head-to-head with other VSiN shows to see who sells the most subscriptions. The winning show gets $1,000 Super Bowl future. The best part is Sean and Ryan are going to cut you in on the prize if they win. So all you got to do is step one, go to VSiN.com, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/subscribe and use promo code SGP to sign up. Step 2, go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/VSiN to submit your proof of purchase. If they win, they'll get to vote on what team to use the $1,000 Super Bowl future on. And if it hits, you'll get an equal piece of the action. So go to VSiN.com/subscribe and use promo code SGP, then go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/VSiN to submit. Roster brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, MLB, and soccer with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bets revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right, gentlemen, let me take you over to my first player prop here, and I'll go over to the other quarterback, and I am going to go with Jared Goff. I'm going to take the under on his passing yards for this upcoming game on Thursday night. That number right now, I'm currently got it at 257.5. Let me see if that is still there. Let's see here. Yeah, I see a 257.5 still out there for Mr. Jared Goff. So let me start with this. Jared Goff, number one, he's playing on the road. He's going into prime time, and that's something, number one, I don't trust with Jared Goff, right? But he's played in 5 career games against the Green Bay Packers, and the only time he's gone over this projection was back in his rookie year when he was with the Los Angeles Rams. And he, in that game, I believe he threw for 296 yards. But since he joined the Detroit Lions, he's faced his Packers team 4 times in his career. And in those 4 games against the Packers, I'm going to quickly read off the passing yards in those games here as I pull it up here. So in those 4 games, 137, 224, 137, 238, 246. And like I mentioned, the only time he did get over this number was when he was with Sean McVay in the LA Rams in that offense. That number updated right now is at 250.5 now. So again, the money has come in on the under, but I still love it. I think this is going to be a game where, number one, I think the Lions offense is going to struggle a little bit. I think they're going to have to rely on their running game here in this game. But you take a look at the quarterbacks that have also faced this Packers secondary this season. It's been three teams, right? And I know that it hasn't been the greatest quarterback competition. It's been Justin Fields, it's been Desmond Ridder, and it's been a combination of Derek Carr and Jameis Winston, because last week we saw Derek Carr get injured and he left the game for the New Orleans Saints. But Justin Fields, 216 passing yards, Desmond Ridder, 237, and then Jameis Winston and Derek Carr combined for 204 yards. So we talked about this Packers defense. They're one of the top, I think they're top 5 defense. Their front 7 has been strong, and then their secondary has stepped up to the occasion, at least over the first 3 weeks. I think Jared Goff will continue to struggle in this game. I'm going to go the updated number. I still like it at under 250.5 in this game here, Rod.
You know, and if he gets Montgomery back, that's obviously a giant weapon for him too, because we know that Montgomery has really set himself apart now as the number one. And look, even if not, Jahmyr Gibbs is not that bad either. I mean, he's about 4.5 yards per carry for him as a rookie. So, I mean, they got a pretty stout running game, and they had Swift last season too. So they've had a good running game, which is why Jared Goff hasn't needed to throw all that much. So, if they lean on him, then I think we're all good on that.
Rod, take us over to player prop number 2, my friend.
All right. Well, then I will actually go to that running game. I will take Jahmyr Gibbs. All right. On BetMGM, they've got a prop for his first carry, and they're setting the yardage of his first carry at 3.5. I'm going to take the over on this one. This is at -105 for Jahmyr Gibbs' first carry to go at least 4 yards. Like I said, He's got 4.7 yards per carry in his career right now. Last week, he had 80 yards on 17 carries. When he touches the ball, he's just explosive. And I will say that if David Montgomery does end up starting this game, that will give Jahmyr Gibbs even all the more opportunity to get over 4 yards on his first carry, because Montgomery's going to probably beat them pretty solid for however long it takes for Jahmyr Gibbs to get in the game. And at that point, all Gibbs has to do is just explode through that line and be able to get through to him, because again, he's such an explosive player, right? And we've seen this from him already this season. And when you watch him run, he runs straight forward. He doesn't try to dance around. He just tries to pound through and get the yardage. So for Jahmyr Gibbs, like I said, I think his first carry, and in fact, his first carry last week was for 5 yards. So, I mean, that more than clears this prop by 1.5 yards. I'm not saying that he's going to bust it loose for a 50-yard touchdown, but if all we're asking him to do is get 4 yards on a carry, all you got to do is just kind of fall forward at this point and get it. So I like Jahmyr Gibbs for his first carry to go over 3.5 yards, -105. You can find that on BetMGM.
Chris, thoughts on Jahmyr Gibbs here for his first rush attempt to be over 3.5?
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I think the point that Rob mentioned about even if they get Montgomery back, then his first carry will be like not the first carry of the game, right? So then you get a defense that that's worn down a tad bit. And if you've been watching like how they've been utilizing that backfield, of course Gibbs got a lot more carries last week because Montgomery wasn't there. But Montgomery's been getting a bulk load. I know Rob mentioned it at the beginning of the show, but Montgomery's been getting a bulk load. Like, he is the lead back, and I think coming into the season, I know when we did the first show when they were playing against the Chiefs, I took his receptions over because I thought he was going to be out there a little bit more and they were going to need him, but they didn't. So I like the idea of him, playing and getting, maybe a little bit more of a fatigue defense than what Montgomery will see if he's the starting back.
Chris, over to player prop number 2, my friend. What do you got?
All right, so I am going receiver, and this one is a tad bit of a, if then maybe, but I like Musgrave, Luke Musgrave. I like his receptions. They're sitting at 3.5. It's actually plus money on Bet365 right now, and the reason why it's plus money is because Christian Watson says that he'll play. We'll see what that looks like, but even if he does play, I do think that this is a number. Just based on what we talked about with how the Packers are going to have to pass the ball. I think, I gave out those numbers. Teams are passing 65% against them so far this season. The Lions actually gave up 4 catches for 56 yards versus the Seahawks when they played against Noah Fant. Last week, Kyle Pitts, 5 receptions for 41 yards. In week 1, Mahomes, of course, didn't have Travis Kelce, but even Noah Gray had caught 3 passes for 31 yards in that spot as well. Overall, you just look at opposing quarterbacks, they've actually targeted their tight end 36 times against the Lions, which is the most in the league. And they've given up 25 catches for 263 yards, which is also the most in both of those categories as well. You look at 3 weeks in for Musgrave, he's actually 3rd in targets for Love in this wide receiving core. And he's actually tied for 1st in receptions. And he also has the highest target reception conversion percentage on the team as well, because he actually has 11. He caught 11 of those. I want to say 15 targets 15 times that he's been targeted. And his 11 receptions are actually 10th most in the NFL as well. So I like Musgrave just based on matchup here, from right.
Yeah, I think this kind of goes into mine as well, because I have Luke Musgrave going over his receiving yards in this game, and it ties into how bad the Lions their defense has been against that tight end position. So if you kind of take a look at, I know you mentioned it about the receptions and the number of yards that the defense has given up to the tight end position, have the Lions defense, and I'll quickly round out those numbers off. So first week, the Lions obviously played the Chiefs, so that was without Travis Kelce, right? But a combination of Blake Bell and Noah Gray ended up with 5 receptions and 43 total yards between those two guys. I think what really stood out to me about how bad the Lions defense has been against the tight end position, we go back to week 2 against the Seahawks. Noah Fant, 4 receptions, 56 yards. Colby Parkinson, 2 receptions, 41 yards, and Will Dissly, 3 receptions, 35 yards in that overtime game. And then last week against the Lions, both Kyle Pitts and Jonnu Smith, 5 receptions each, 41 yards receiving for Kyle Pitts and 37 for Jonnu Smith. So I think this might be the game we'll see Luke Musgrave be involved more in the offense. Again, this kind of goes back to what I've been talking about on the Propcast for this season and last season about how Arizona Cardinals are really bad against tight end position. I think the Detroit Lions are also entering that territory for the tight end position defense. So currently that number right now for Luke Musgrave is at 36.5 at -125. So definitely shop around. That's currently over on DraftKings. But I'm sure you'll find a book that has it for less juice, maybe for even so less yardage. But again, 36.5. I think this is a game where Luke Musgrave can definitely get into the 50-yard range as far as receiving. Now, again, kind of just goes in hand to hand with Chris just mentioned about him liking the over on his receptions for this game. Rod, thoughts on Luke Musgrave for this prop?
It goes hand in hand with my next prop as well. So I'll just
take
get
us
right
away.
Mine.
Yeah.
So you talk about Musgrave getting over his. Well, Laporta actually is paired with him. So Musgrave and Laporta together to have more or 125 or more yards receiving. This is at plus 225. That's together. That's together. So you can find that on DraftKings. If either one of, or if both of them go over 125, they don't have to go over. They could just hit 125. So if you expect Musgrave to go over, I definitely think Laporta can get somewhere in the vicinity of where he got last week, and that's 84 yards on 8 catches. They're getting him involved, man. They're getting him involved in ways that everybody's hyped about. The whole fantasy football world is ablaze with Laporta, and for good reason too. You look at what tight ends have done against the Packers. Cole Kmet caught 5 passes for 44 yards. Jonnu Smith caught 4 catches for 47 yards. And these guys aren't even on the level that Laporta's at right now. And they're not being targeted nearly as much as the Lions are starting to get him involved. So really, again, all these guys have to do is just split the half of it. And I actually think that if Laporta can get 3/4 of it, then I think that Musgrave could get the other half. You guys already laid out exactly the stats for Musgrave. But overall, Laporta's got 18 catches on the season for 186 yards, 84 last week, 63 the week before. Started out with 39 against the Chiefs, but obviously that was his very first game. But he still caught all 5 of his targets for those 39 yards as well. I just think that the Lions are slowly starting to move toward him. I mean, they had Hawkinson for so long, so they know what it's like to have that high-end tight end, right? And he's just sort of sliding into that Hawkinson role. And as of last week, pretty much excelling at it. So I think they're going to be able to trust him a little bit more. I think that 80 yards for him is not out of the realm of possibility, which only leaves 45 yards for Musgrave to get to finish off this prop. So I think that if you think he's going to go over his 36, I think 45 is doable for Musgrave. I think 80 is doable for Laporta. So yeah, give me that combo for plus 220 over on DK Laporta and Musgrave to hit at least 125 yards or more.
I wouldn't be surprised if even Luke Musgrave gets into the range of 50 yards here. I think this, like we talked about, 36.5 is a conservative. So, I mean, you mentioned last week he had a fantastic game, season high in all three categories: receptions, targets, and yards for Sam Laporta. 8 receptions on 11 targets, 84 yards, and he also scored his first touchdown of the season for the Detroit Lions. And I'm quickly trying to see here if the Falcons defense is also bad against the tight end position here, but I think they're right above they're below league average, I should say, as far as defending the tight end position. But yeah, I think this is going to be one of those games where we see the tight ends excel, man. I know the tight end position, when we talk about it, the names that come to mind are Travis Kelce. We talk about the George Kittles of the world, Darren Waller when he's healthy, Mark Andrews, but there's a new wave of tight ends coming through, and again, Sam Laporta and Luke Musgrave are going to be I think the stars of the future, at least at the tight end position. So I can 100% back this. I was on with Sean and Ryan on the Mothership show, and we talked about giving out a DGen parlay, and the one I gave out was both of these tight ends to have 50 plus receiving yards and to find the end zone anytime. That came out to around 22 to 1. So that kind of leads into your prop of them having big nights here as far as receiving props. Player prop number 3 now, Chris. Go for it, my
Player
man.
prop number 3. So Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think I'm gonna go with his under 65 and a half. I'm sorry, not 65. 6.5 receptions. So just him not to catch 7 passes in this game. We already kind of talked about how we think the Lions will be playing. Well, I talked about how I think the Lions will be playing from out front in this game. And that maybe they aren't, but I think that they'll be playing from out front. You also just look at how much I expect them to be able to run the ball and actually like do it consistently. I know they'll be on the road. I know that the Green Bay Packers defense typically plays a little bit better at stopping the run, even though they are bottom 5. But I just don't think this will be one of Amon-Ra St. Brown's biggest games of the season. I don't think that he'll need to have 7 receptions in this game. This is juiced at a lot of books. The under is, but I actually found it at -115 over on PointsBet. He hasn't caught 7 passes so far this season. The Packers have only given up 7 receptions one time, and that was to, I want to say, Chris Olave in week 2. So I think that they typically don't give up that many receptions because if you can run the ball, then you just run the ball, right? There's no need to we might see Amon-Ra St. Brown looking like the Eagles when they were just running the ball religiously, and we saw Smith on the sideline kind of pouting to what's his name?
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, I like the under on his receptions. Under 6.5, -115.
So we talk about the Green Bay Packers defense here against the wide receiver position in particular, and they're 6th best against the tight end position. The wide receiver position. They're only allowing 10.3 yards per game as far as receptions go to the wide receiver position, and they're only allowing 124.3 yards against the wide receiver position are the Packers defense. And I know you mentioned, he's only gone over this number in one game so far this season, which was last week against the Atlanta Falcons. He had 9 receptions, but other than that, 6 in a very high scoring game against the Seattle Seahawks. He had 6 against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I feel like he's more of a yardage guy than a reception monster, because now Jared Goff has other options as well where he can pass the ball to. And just for a reference, Amon-Ra St. Brown has played the Packers 4 times in his career. He's only gone over this projection of 6.5 just once, where he had 8 receptions. But other than that, 3 receptions, 4 receptions, and 6 receptions in those other 3 games for him against the Packers. So definitely can get behind that for sure. Rod, thoughts on Amon-Ra St. Brown here?
Yeah, again, when you're taking deep shots to a guy, they don't necessarily get a lot of receptions. They just get a lot of deep shots, and that's where their yardage comes from. So I like it. And then, of course, like we talked about, Laporta just being a factor now and getting all of those targets last week, 8 receptions, that cuts into your lead wide receivers total altogether. So do I think he's going to get 8 again this week? Probably not. But again, the yardage I think will be there for Laporta, maybe 7 catches for the 80 yards that we have. Although for Justin in here in the chat, he hopes this game ends in a tie. He says, sincerely, a sad Bear fan.
Get Justin out of here.
He wants to.
I can't relate to Justin because my Texans have a win. The Niners are undefeated. Chris's Commanders have 2 wins on the season. I don't know what he's talking about over there. Rod, you already gave out 3, or you still have one more to give out?
I gave out 3. That was my best bet was the Laporta Musgrave.
All right, so I am going to take a page out of Rod's book here, and I'm going to go with the kicker prop here in this game. I'm going to take Anders Carlson, the kicker for the Packers, to go over 5.5 total points here. You take a look at the 3 kickers that have gone up against this Lions defense. All 3 of those kickers have gone over this projection as well. But I think more so what kind of led me to this prop is that number one, you'd only need 2 field goals by Carlson to get over this number of 5.5. On the season, he's a perfect 3 of 3 from the field goal range, and he has a total of 18 points, and he's gone over this projection in 2 out of 3 games. Last week, it was a lower scoring game against the Saints where he only got 4 total points, but week 1 against the Chicago Bears, 8 points, and then week 2 against the Atlanta Falcons, 6 points. And I think we all do believe that the Packers offense will have some success in this game against the Lions defense. So all I think I'm really asking for here is either 2 field goals or 2 extra points and 2 field goals, something in that neighborhood. I do think that the Packers will get into the realm of 3 touchdowns in this game. So 3 extra points and 1 field goal. Any type of that combination, I think, gets it done. But also I've noticed is that Mac LaFleur he's going to take the points when they're available for him when it gets into field goal range, right? He's not going to push the envelope and try to go for it on those 4th and 3s or 4th and 4s unless it's, it's a must-go situation. So I'm comfortable here with the 5.5 points here. Even if it's at 6.5, I still like it to go over in this game. I think the Packers offense will have success. I think they'll be able to put up points in this game. So I'm going to go with Anders Carlson over 5.5 or 6.5 points here for the Green Bay Packers in this game here. Let's get over to touchdown props here. Anytime touchdown or first touchdown prop bets. Rod, why don't you lead us off, my friend?
So obviously this one hinges on whether or not he will play this game. But if Aaron Jones does get into this game, I like actually the first Green Bay touchdown. I don't want to mess with his anytime number or even first score of the game. I think it's pretty safe to assume that if Aaron Jones is back, they're going to want to get him into the end zone first and foremost. That's at plus 310. So 3-1 for him to get the first Green Bay touchdown of the game, I think is a much safer proposition than trying to see whether or not he gets the first touchdown of the game. I know that us DGens love at the SGPN these first touchdown bets, but I like to take a little more of a conservative approach and just at least call it the way I think it's going to go. Again, it's just a matter of Green Bay wanting to get their most explosive weapons going early. And when it gets around the goal line, Aaron Jones is the hammer, and he's been there back for a very long time now. So for him to get the first Green Bay TD at plus 310, give me that one.
All right. Chris, touchdown props in this game?
I like Laporta. I know we kind of just talked about him already, but the guy is seeing, all of these targets. We didn't go through and like list those numbers out, but just to kind of give the audience some details, this guy is actually second in the NFL right now in receptions for tight ends at 18, tied with Evan Ingram, and only TJ Hockenson, who we was on in last week, has more receptions than him right now. You go through and look at his yards. He's actually first, which is crazy. I don't think we had that one on our bingo card. But Sam Laporta is actually first in yards, 186. And for me, it's more so about, all of those things are cute, but it's about the targets, right? And he is second in targets with 22. So if I can get someone that I know is, has the quarterback's attention, and I can get it at this price, I feel like I have to. PointsBet actually has this right now at 260. So yeah, plus 260 for Laporta just to get in the end zone one time. I absolutely love it. I'll be putting a little sprinkle on that.
I want to say Sam Laporta is the only skill position player for the Lions that has a red zone target in every single game this season for the Lions. So I think that works in your favor there as well. I already mentioned it that I did like Sam Laporta to find the end zone as well. So I'm with you on that there. Also go that Luke Musgrave. I think we're all high on the tight ends this week. His number is at plus 285 for him to find the end zone here. I like that number. And then I'll also give out Jaden Reed of the Packers 4-1 for him to find the end zone. I think that he's been a great target as well for this Green Bay Packers offense when it comes to the red zone or just getting down the field and trying to, get those plays over the top of the defense. And I think that Jordan Love should be able to do that, especially against his line secondary. So I will definitely be on this on Luke Musgrave. With you on Sam Laporte, and I'll give out Jaden Reed there as well for the Green Bay Packers. Last order of business here. Let's get into our best bets for Thursday night football. Chris, why don't you lead us off with your best bet? What do you got?
Jordan Love. I like him in this spot. I actually love him in this spot. Not a love. Over his 32.5 pass attempts. Like I said, from game script perspective, it just feels like he's going to have to pass the ball. If they get Christian Watson back, that's even more of a reason they'll pass the ball. And I don't think that, I could be wrong, but I don't think that Aaron Judge is going to play in this game. I think that Aaron Jones will play in this game. I think that they'll be conservative with him, understanding that it's still early in the season. And we talked about it at the beginning of the pod. They already have 2 wins, right? So, of course, this is a big game. It's a divisional game, and you want to win those games. But I don't think you necessarily want to we know hamstring injuries. Like, let's talk about the injury. We know hamstring injuries are really important and can linger. They can kind of take a while to recover from. So I think the longer he gets to rest, the more time he'll feel better soon. And the other thing is, with this being a Thursday game, they get ample time to rest because they won't play again, of course, until next Sunday. So I think there's the opportunity for Aaron Judge not to play. And if he doesn't play, Jordan Love will definitely be having to sling that thing around. So give me Jordan Love over his 32.5 pass attempts, if it's my favorite, my best bet.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Again, I'm really low on this Lions defense. I think last week was an anomaly with Desmond Ridder being on the road. But I think, with Jordan Love, who's been in the league and was able to learn from Aaron Rodgers for all the season that he was behind him, I think that Matt LaFleur will put a game plan together to throw the football and find some success, picking apart the secondary for this Lions team. For my best bet, I'm gonna go Luke Musgrave, man. I'm really high on this week. I think we got to continue fading the Lions defense against the tight end position. We talked about the numbers that they have given up to the tight end position in the first 3 weeks. I think that's going to continue. I think Musgrave is finding his way and his flow on this offense for the Packers. I think that Jordan Love will be able to find him in this game. So 36.5, I think that number is a little conservative here. So give me the over 36.5 receiving yards for Luke Musgrave as my best bet. Rod, you mentioned your best bet was going to be the tight end combo, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm going to take both of those guys to get at least 125 yards, Laporta and Musgrave. And at least 125. That's all you need to get. If it gets more, doesn't matter. If you hit 125, you still cash. So at plus 225, I like it because there's no hook.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be, I think, a solid week for both of the tight ends. I think we all love the tight ends this week for this matchup, at least between the Lions and the Packers. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Propcast. Lions, Packers, NFC North battle on Thursday Night Football. Rod, anything else you want to mention before?
No, sir. Just find me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio, everything I got going on here. NASCAR gambling podcast, F1 gambling podcast. It's all there. Sportsbook review. I give out more props on Sportsbook review every Thursday night, every Sunday night, and every Monday night. So make sure you're checking those out as well.
Yes, sir. Chris, anything else, my man?
Now just follow my work. Everything is over on X, Twitter, at Chris B. Cappin, 2 P's, 2 N's. Pleasure doing the show with you guys as always. Hopefully we get some cash for the people. And then, of course, we'll be back to break down the weekend as well. So best of luck to everybody.
Yeah, hopefully it's another good hopefully it's a good another Thursday for us. I know we've been doing pretty well on the Thursday games after our week one 0 for 9 that we had, but I think we've bounced back very nicely in the last 2 weeks here. So hopefully we can get that going on this Thursday Night Football. And like Chris mentioned, we'll be back, of course, later this week to do our weekend player props for the Sunday game. So definitely look out for us then. Like I mentioned, you can follow Rod on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Make sure to follow Chris on Twitter as well at Chris B. Cappin with 2 P's and 2 N's. You can follow me on Twitter at SportsNerd824. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and let it ride.